Hey folks, Steve here with a unbagging video. Today we'll be looking at Fury at Midway. This is a game published by Revolution Games. Designer is Yasushi Nakaguro, and I picked this one up recently because it was recently priced. And I got a buddy who likes the Pacific quite a bit, and I might try to get him and I to give this a shot at some point soon. I had run across it checking out the Revolution Games website because they're doing the Deadly Woods, which is a Ted Racer game on the Battle of the Bulge, I think, and really kind of was poking around. I hadn't really purchased any games by Revolution before, and this one was a bagged game, a ziplock game, and it is basically the Battle of Midway. And it's got some interesting mechanics to it. We'll see some stuff as I go here. So I just got it. We're gonna do the unbagging. Let's see what we got. So nice bag. Nothing to be said about that. And just get everything out of here. There are cards, as you can see now. They're in a little slip, so they're not in a bag or like ziplocked or not ziplocked, plastic wrapped. And there's basically Allied cards, and there's Japanese cards. And it's not a card-driven game, but it is a card-assisted game, it seems like. So you have the ability at certain opportunities to play a card, so that remove a U.S. fighter from a strike group, place the fighter in the appropriate return box, play at the start of cap interception. So at different opportunities, you're going to have these cards. And you'll be able to get the game effects. So, play at the end of the turn, 1 CV, loss in combat did not sink. So that means that the Japanese player doesn't get a victory point, for instance. So you can see there's like one of the, can't remember now, Lexington, maybe, one of them, that got, that was nearly sunk but wasn't. So you have these cards that have an element. Each player will have their own deck of these cards. And there's not a whole lot, right? So you're going to get so many of them, you can play them. You can kind of know what's coming. You know the capabilities will be there when the time comes. So you got those. You have, this is sort of like the front of the game, but on the back of this is an aid sheet. So you have air operations points to track your operations point. You got turn record track, how to read the cards, how to read the counters. What do they all mean? You can see they've got fighters, dive bombers, carrier designation, all this kind of good stuff here. So this really isn't a naval air game. And then otherwise you have where the fleets are located, moving around sort of more large-scale operationally. And you can see that there. Sort of the back, or what, the other sheets that were in here are the 2 player maps. So the way that this game works, is my understanding, is each player gets their own version of the map. You can play double blind in some ways. So my understanding is each player will always know where the enemy fleet is, but they won't know what the planes are doing, I guess, is my understanding. So you can see there's coordinates on here, B1, C4, etc., etc. You sunk my battleship kind of thing, but you can see there's Midway here, and then spaces representing the actual carriers that are involved in the combat. So the Enterprise, the Hornet, the Yorktown, in the different task forces. So you can see that there. The back doesn't have anything, so you just set this up. And then there's a Japanese version. And so the game doesn't quite come with it, but presumably you could put like a screen up between the 2 players, and you could, you're just seeing what you're seeing on your map, plus whatever additional information you're privy to. So you can see the Akagi, the Kaga, the Hiryu, and the Soryu. And likewise, it's the same map, right? You see Midway's down there, and then the coordinates are here. So 2 player maps. Again, so they each have your own map as you're playing out the battles. Before we get to the rule book, there's this. It's an interesting counter sheet. It's a lot more long than it is, or more wide than it is long. I don't know. But I can tell you, if you can kind of see here, it's already the sort of brown core, nice quality counters. These are going to punch pretty easy, they feel like. And so you have counters for different planes. some basic, tracker of your operations point, damage markers, your fleet markers for both sides, and that's really it. There's not a whole lot to it. It really is all about, how you send your fighters out for cap, or you're sending bombing runs, and so on. So pretty straightforward stuff. Like I said, it's going to be really easy to punch. You could probably toss all the counters in the bag. I might still separate them in a little baggies or something, but and already you can see like that it's coming off the sprues already. These will come out real nice and easy, it seems like. And then the rule book here is, and I missed one. There's evidently an additional smaller counter strip for the Midway garrison, I guess, the units that start on Midway. And there's stuff on the back here. I'm not sure what all this is about, but I'm sure I will learn about that as I get to the game. And then, the final bit here is just the rulebook. So the rulebook is 12 pages total, going from the front to the back. Looks like it is black and white, 2-column format. My understanding is the game isn't terribly complicated. It's a really straightforward kind of game. Game on the Battle of Midway. That took place on June 4th, 1942. Blah, blah, blah. Not a whole lot in the way of pictures or examples of play, so that's going to be maybe one thing. You got to take the time to really understand what you're doing here. There's a non-illustrated example of play, so as long as you can set this up and follow along, you can probably get it. But maybe one thing that would have been nice to see is some more picture examples of what we're talking about, but not much to say there. Okay, well that's it, guys. That's a quick unbagging of Fury at Midway by Revolution Games. We'll look to get this played with a buddy of mine at some point, and maybe I'll have more to say on it. But it looks like it'll be a fun package. I mean, I've been kind of trying to find something like this for a while, because I have Empire of the Sun. That's a strategic game. I have a copy of Flat Top, but it's a whole thing to figure that guy out. And then there's Mark Herman's Pacific War, but that's still a very bigger operational game. This is just a neat little, carrier battle game, and I really like the idea of that, having it that zoomed in and focused, and trying to get the invasion of Midway. I'm really fascinated by the idea of something really tightly designed just around this, for that sort of quick play action of the Pacific. So that's why I picked it up. It just felt like the time I wanted to get something like that, so a buddy and I can try it out. So there you go, guys. Check it out, Revolution Games. It's my first game from the company. So far, so good. Looks like it'll be a fun experience. Good stuff. Catch you later, guys.